Good morning and welcome. Patriot Radio News Hour, Joe and Jason on this Thursday. Wednesday. Look, I'm trying to skip days already. It is Fed Day Wednesday. I hope you're having a great day. We got a really unusual market today. It's a Fed day, so normally this is dollar strength and gold weakness. Just the opposite. Kind of tells you how bad things are going to become. I think this is what Wall Street's trying to tell the central bank right now. Hey, this gradual stuff that Double J keeps talking about, yeah, it's getting ready to become suddenly. They're hoping there's going to be a no hike today. It would be a shock if there was. It's all going to be about the message, the dot chart. I don't understand these guys. They make such, what are the dots going to tell us? Here's what they want to see. They want to see, hey, maybe we're going to hike one more time. I think they'd be okay with that. But really what they want to see is show us how many of you are going to be lowering rates next year. That's what this is all about, which tells you, hey, more trouble ahead. But before we get to that, more strikes. We'll tell you all about it. Wages are not coming. As a matter of fact, California just passed not one but two new wage rules that we need to tell you about. And now joining the UAW, potentially the largest strike in the healthcare industry could be in front of us. We've got that and so much more. Our toll-free number, 800-951-0592. And Jason, as we watch all of the markets here and we're waiting on the Fed, there's just not a lot of good choices. Inflation's roaring. Oil, another bad oil inventory number. Goldman Sachs came out this morning upping their oil forecast. And this is the forecast between now and the end of the year. So right now, essentially saying, get ready, $100 to $110, and saying, Jason, what we've been saying for a lot of things, there's just not enough product and there's not enough inventory. All of these shortages that seemingly look like they're being done by design because there's plenty of oil. We've got plenty. Saudi's got plenty, right? OPEC's got plenty. It's just nobody's pumping it.
Yeah, $110. I mean, we might see that in October, the way it's been going up. 50 cents a day seems like it just keeps on grinding up. I mean, that could be the end of October, $110. I don't know. It doesn't seem like it wants to go down anytime.
Yeah, we had some profit taking last night. Oil got to 93. And remember, I was telling you that 92, 92.50 would be a good place for profit taking. We had that happen, and then all of a sudden it just stopped because the oil inventory is down 5 million barrels. Cushing, Oklahoma, which is really kind of an important place and when it comes to the oil markets in the United States, down over 2.5 million. And, just no build in the gasoline, the distillates. So it's going to be an interesting thing, But, yeah, when they're talking about $110 a barrel, that's just like California now. The average price of gas in California has now crested $6. Yesterday, my wife and I were driving around $4.99 to $5.19, kind of where we live. Things are just getting more and more pricey, and now we're seeing, whether it was UPS, the pilots, the flight attendants, FedEx, now it's the UAW, all saying, listen, we need more money to live. And this just tells you the Fed has allowed for inflation to get entrenched. And remember, they told me that's the one thing that we can't do. We can't allow it to get entrenched. Jason, it's entrenched because everybody is saying we aren't making enough money to live, to pay the bills. Housing, the numbers in housing are shockingly bad. But Warren Buffett has been buying D.R. Horton. And I want to say D.R. Horton's the largest home builder. And it's not what you think, because I got texted this. Somebody texted me and said, why is Warren Buffett buying D.R. Horton? And I'm like, I have no idea. Why is he? Well, guess what? D.R. Horton says they are poised to be the premier rent-to-own a home builder in America. So I think that kind of says it all, doesn't it? I think I know why Warren Buffett's buying D.R. Horton. Hey, we're going to build these new houses, but you can just rent them, and maybe, down the road, 5-10 years from now, maybe you can make that into a purchase.
That just sounds so bad. Rent-to-own. I'm just thinking... by rent to own, you have, like you said, you have the possibility of buying, but in the meantime, pay the taxes and insurance on the house while you're renting. That's what it sounds like, Joe.
Didn't there used to be a store rent to own? Right? Isn't that where you went in and you could rent your TV and your couch and all that stuff? Yeah, apparently that's gonna be. You know what? I'll say this. I'll give D.R. Horton credit. I'll give Warren Buffett credit. That's the first thing in housing in a long time that I feel like's made any sense at all. Rent your new home today. Call us. Patriot Radio News Hour. Yes, you'll own nothing and like it. That's why you got to have those hard assets put away. We'll be right back after the break. (800-951-0592). Joe and Jason, Patriot Radio News Hour on this Wednesday. A quick look here at the markets, and it's not a good one. And you'll see what I mean here in a little bit, because we've got a Fed meeting concluding today in a few hours. We'll find out that they didn't raise rates. We're going to, which is blows your mind. Just tells you all you need to know. They really can't fight it. And now I'm telling you, inflation is entrenched. But the Dow's up 200 points. Why? Because they're not going to fight inflation. The S&P's up 10. The NASDAQ is down, but not a lot, 20 points. The 10-year note at 3.92. By the way, yesterday, the 10-year note hit the highest levels in 17 or 18 years yesterday. Crude oil. Remember I told you, got to $93 yesterday. Then there was profit taking. I thought, hey, it's going to go to 90, maybe 88. No. Up 41 cents right now, 91.60, and I got a feeling it's going to be higher as the oil inventory numbers came in. Well, not good. Gold's up $13. I don't know how many times I've said that on a rate meeting day. I mean, if you tracked it, if you track gold in a Fed meeting, what would you say, Jason? Gold's down 8 out of 10, 9 out of 10, right? Let's just say so. 8 out of 10. 8 out of 10 times gold's down. The other two times, gold may be flat, maybe up a couple dollars. Very rarely do you see gold up double digits on a Fed day. Right now it's up 13, 1949. TV gold, 1967. Silver up 40 cents, 23.60. And again, this is a harbinger of things to come. And if you're worried, then you should be. And how diversified are you? You got to have that gold and silver put away. You got to have a professional watching out for your money on Wall Street. That's what you call Joey for. But then you got a company like Y Refi. Something you can actually feel good about, right? I mean, this is actually something good. I'm actually investing in something good. I'm not invested in Anheuser-Busch or Target or Google or Microsoft or some Amazon, some giant. You get great rates of return, up to 10.25%, not correlated to Wall Street, not correlated to the Federal Reserve. It could give, YRefi could give two craps about what the Fed does today. They don't care. They don't care. And they're talking about helping people that need to be, that I shouldn't say need, the ones that deserve to be helped out. This is private student loans. Most people don't understand the student loan market. There's federal student loans and there's private student loans. The federal stuff, that's what Joe Biden keeps talking about. Oh yeah, you like right now, you got to start paying your federal loans finally for the first time in 3 years. That's not been the case for private loans. By the way, federally, you only can borrow $5,000. And I say only. $5,000 a year. Well, I don't care, any college. The cheap colleges. What are they, 15 grand? So these students got to borrow it from somewhere else, and the banks are more than happy to do it. They usually get a cosigner like mom and dad or grandpa and grandpa. Here's the sad part. The second you graduate or drop out, whatever it is, your first payment's due in 30 days. Do you know that the vast majority of student loan defaults, a lot of people don't know this, occur in the first 6 months? First 6 months. They graduated. They didn't know what they were doing. They got $40,000, $50,000 in debt. They didn't land a job that paid enough. Well, I got to pay rent, right? I got to pay rent. I got to have transportation to work. I got to do this. Hey, there's not enough left to pay the student loan. Boom, they're in default. They can never get rid of it. But you know what? YRefi finds the ones that, hey, wait a minute. If we got off your neck and gave you a reasonable payment, could you do it? And the answer is yes. Within 8.5 years, they've got it paid off. You get great rates of return. It's a win-win for everybody. Check them out. InvestYRefi.com. That's the word invest, the letter Y, REFY.com, or call them at 888-YRefi24. Remember, you got to have $50K. That's kind of the minimum there. You got to have at least $50,000. You can use an existing IRA. Some of you could even use a 401K as well. But give them a call today. Tell them we sent you 888-YRefi24. So, Jason, the big news. This is the big news for me today. It's not the Fed. Another strike authorization, this time in healthcare. Kaiser. They're huge. They're just absolutely enormous. Said that they had they're called the Office and Professional Employees International Union Local Number 2. Said in a news release that its members voted to authorize a strike. Ready? This is hilarious. By a margin of 98%. So what was it? 99-1? Right, 99%, 1% said no, 99% said yeah, let's do it. By the way, the agreement has to be reached by next Friday. So not a lot of time. This comes right after the Service Employees International members of Colorado, California, Oregon, and Southwest Washington. They voted to authorize a strike a couple of weeks ago against Kaiser. This group joining them, this is D.C., Virginia, and Maryland, and not to be outdone. So give you an idea, Kaiser employs 85,000 workers. Hawaii is another location. So let me give you the locations. Colorado, California, Oregon, D.C., Hawaii, Maryland, Virginia, and Washington. And Jason, this has the makings here of another massive strike. Either way, here's the problem. The strike happens, doesn't happen, doesn't matter, because at the end of these things, the one thing that's definitely going to happen is wages are going to go way up, Benefits are going to go way up. The cost of everything is going to go way up.
Yeah, and you were saying, $25 an hour or something like that just to start,
Well, let me tell you. So, California, let's start there. They just instituted a new rule. If you are a restaurant and you have more than 50 locations nationwide, in other words, you can have one location in California, but you got 50 total. In the state of California, you now must pay $20 an hour, period. So think about if you're a McDonald's franchise. Because take here, fast food here, 15 to 18 bucks here. Probably pretty close in California. And if you get out to the smaller towns, the slower places, it's maybe 13 to 15. Can you imagine paying 15, 16, 17? Now you got to pay everyone 20? Not to mention, what about the people that were making 20? Right? They want more money now. Everybody wants more money. And then in health care, they just passed legislation yesterday in California. If you are in the health care industry in the state of California, you must pay your workers a minimum of $25 an hour. And Jason, this is what happens when they allow for inflation to get entrenched. And it's a never-ending spiral now. Everybody needs more money. The more money you pay, the more expensive they get. It's a vicious cycle.
Yeah, and more strikes just means more wages that are being forced up. The companies should. Minimum wage is really just not even American, really. The employer and the employee enter into a contract, and whatever they agree to should have nothing to do with the government. But to me, I'm thinking, what businesses would actually just try? How do they enforce this, right, Joe? And I'm sure there is ways. I don't know, maybe penalties or something that would happen to the restaurants, but it's not a good thing. And I know that everyone needs to earn enough money to buy what they need to buy, but if the government would just get out of the way, maybe we wouldn't need $20 an hour. Maybe $5 an hour would still be good if the government was out of the way, Joe.
This is a ridiculous. Kaiser, in a statement, said, hey, we are a leader in wages and benefits in every single market we're in. They say that right now they have an enterprise minimum wage of $21. Go back to my California story. Well, $21 sounds great until California said you got to pay $25. And, of course, obviously 21's not going to get it done. They're getting ready to strike everywhere. Healthcare premiums, a big jump is coming. So the healthcare, you're going to start getting your notices for your healthcare premiums in 2024. They are going to be up and up significantly. Car insurance has been up significantly. Homeowners insurance has been up significantly. We had Joey on Monday. Look, what did he tell you? Hey, listen, you got someone 18 to 24. Buy their health insurance now. Pay the $10 or $15 a month, because by the time they're ready to buy it on their own, the health insurance company, they're going to deny them, and they'll find any reason to deny them. Look at what they're doing with homeowners insurance. You've got companies like State Farm, they're pulling out of states completely. Say, well, you know what? Oh, you live in Florida. We're not insuring anybody in Florida. Oh, you live in California. We're not insuring anybody in California. That's just going to drive prices through the roof. And again, Jason, this is what happens when you let the bankers be in charge. They believe their own BS. They knew it was wrong, leaving rates at zero for 15 years. We probably should have put them in jail. Really, ultimately, at the end of the day, we should have arrested Ben Bernanke and Janet Yellen for doing this to the American public. Because let me tell you right now, they're the ones that have done it. And, of course, did you see Janet Yellen, who was our Treasury Secretary now, did you see her earlier this week? Oh, well, I don't see any signs. I don't see any signs of the economy being bad. I don't know why everybody isn't elated with Joe Biden's economic policies. Are you kidding me, Jason? She don't see anything? Nothing? No, it's great. Look how we've done a great job.
You know, insurance companies are a pretty good barometer because, they get to do things to price your insurance that if you said it out loud in public, you would be some sort of racist or misogynist or something, because they say if you're a male at this age, or if you're a female and you have these habits, they actually get to, honestly look at the person they're insuring and then set a price based off the facts. So if insurance companies want to pull out of Florida, they're basically saying, look, if there's one bad hurricane, we're done. So we can't insure Florida anymore. That's what I'm hearing, Joe. So insurance companies are pretty factually based companies, Joe. They have a profit margin that they need to pay their top guys, and they'll set the price and they'll make the market whatever the market tells them. So pretty, like I said, I mentioned it last week, and my homeowners insurance jumped huge, just huge, and the idea is, well, it's the big fires that ripped through Lafayette, Louisville, but when I talked to the guy a little further, I was like, well, it seems like the rate that's going up is about the same as the rate of all the taxes are going up on all the houses across the country. And he's like, yeah, that pretty much is the biggest deal. He admitted that's pretty much why your rates have gone up 40 to 66%. That's because the house insurance or property taxes are going up that much. So that forces us to insure more, Joe.
Yeah, and again, what's going to happen with all these wages, all these wage hikes and everything getting more expensive? I hate to tell you, the end of this, people get laid off. Hours get cut, right? Because companies got a bottom line that they need to maintain. We'll be back. $800-951-0592. Joe and Jason here on this Wednesday. Gold continues to move higher, silver higher as well, as we're waiting the press conference from the Fed. We do not expect a rate hike today, and most people don't even care about whether there's going to be a rate hike at the next meeting. All as Wall Street is focused in on right now is when is the Fed going to start cutting rates, which, again, I think is a very, very slippery slope to be in, and why we're seeing gold and silver really holding up here. We've been holding up, been sitting here, and actually, despite the quote-unquote good news, gold and silver have held their own and now getting ready to rally again because, well, let's face it, rate hikes have to end because the banks are losing their shirts. Commercial real estate is dead. Housing now, apparently housing is going to go to rent to own, right? I mean, everybody and their mother seems to be wanting to either go on strike or threaten a strike or be on strike because they don't have enough money. Let's face it. They want enough money to live. That's what they're talking about here. They want enough money to be able to, listen, I want to be middle class. I mean, that's really what this is about. I want to be middle class. Right? I work for Ford, GM, Chrysler. I want to be middle class. I work in the health insurance industry. I want to be middle class. They're not asking to be millionaires. But guess what? Right? And again, we know too, right? That's a double-edged sword with unions, isn't it? Right? And at the end of all of this, I'm just going to tell you right now, everything's going to cost more, and a lot of people are going to lose their jobs. That's just how this thing is going to shake out. But today we've got another great opportunity. Man, we've had a lot of great opportunities in the last couple of weeks. Today I've got $100 $5 Liberty. So this is the quarter ounce, 1866 to 1907. Save, gold's up 12. You're going to save $15 a coin, $575. But if you buy 10 or more, $570. So you'd save up to $20 a coin, cheaper than quarter ounce gold eagles. I mean, it's just a great way to get fractional. And you know what? We love the pre-33 gold. It's the most private way to own it. $5 liberties, 1 through 9, 575. Jason, 10 or more, 570 at 800-951-0592.
Yeah, these go good with your $5 Indians we sold last week. That's we had the Indians on sale and they were cheaper than the $5 liberties. Now we got the $5 liberties finally the next week, cheaper than the Indians on special. So that's a great way to go. I mean, that's get some of these $5 libs to go along with those $5 Indians you bought last week. But quarter ounce gold pieces are always good to have around. They're not as expensive as the $20 liberties where you have to throw in almost $2,200. And so this is a way for somebody on a smaller budget to be able to get some gold. And it's pre-33 old gold too, Joe.
Yeah, and again, I think the unfortunate thing here, the digital currency is coming. I can just see it now. This is going to be, by going to the digital currency, somehow it's going to make inflation go away. Yeah. It's going to bring jobs back, right? It's going to be the miracle elixir. I can just see it now. And believe me, with that miracle elixir, you're going to want to have something barterable to get things because listen, you don't have, and I'm going to call it what it is, a weapon. The banks are creating a weapon because here's what they want. And I've told you this how many times. Do you know who they really hate? They hate the guy that's got hundreds of thousands of dollars sitting in their bank account. They hate you. You are the enemy. Now, if you go and spend that money, well, then that's yes. Yeah, you're a good American. Go out there and spend that. Get that vacation home. Buy that vote. Go on vacation. Spend your money. Invest it in the companies that we want. Because we know this whole stock market, it's not been a great rally, but let's call it the rally this year. It's 7 companies that nobody likes. Right? Who likes investing in Google? Nobody.
Right.
We know what they do. Who likes investing in Microsoft? Nobody. We know what they do. Right? I mean, this is kind of what NVIDIA, right? What do they do? Well, they make the chips that allow them to spy on everybody, right? We get it. But if you didn't invest in these companies, guess what? You didn't make any money this year. Right? I mean, this is kind of the thing. They hate it when you leave your money in the bank. And they're going to make you pay for it in the future. It's going to be, here's the thing that people don't talk enough about with digital currency. You know what it allows them to do? Because now you have an account at the Fed. You're going to have your bank account at the Fed. Well, that's different than all these other accounts, right? We can have a negative interest rate on your bank account without having negative interest rates for auto loans and credit cards and home loans, right? We can two-tier it. We can now say, okay, you want to leave your money in the bank? Oh, that's okay. Every month we're just going to take a little bit of it. Instead, now they do that now with inflation. You just don't know it, right? Because it still says 200,000. It still says 50,000, right? Your statement still says 100,000. Of course, we all know. Go back 10 years. What you could buy off for 100,000 10 years ago, you need about 200,000 now. But fast forward to what the digital currency can do for them. Okay, well, that 100,000 now says 98,000. Oh, you left it in there another year? Oh, well, now it says 95,000. Oh, you still don't want to spend it? Okay, well, now it says 90,000. Right, Jason? These are things most people don't know, these abilities. We talk about, they can stop you from buying this and stop you from buying that. They can do a lot more than that. They can put money in your account and say, hey, you could only use it to buy food. Right? If you use it to buy, maybe you want to use, I'm going to use that money to pay down my credit card. Oh, nope. Hey, we put $2,000 in your account. You had $2,300. You wanted to put $1,500 on your credit card. They're like, nope, they won't allow you to. You only can use the $300 you had previous. These are stuff that they can do with a digital currency. We'll be back after the break. (800) 951 0592 Patriot Radio News Hour. Joe and Jason here on this Wednesday. You think I'm wrong? Really? Let me ask you. Why did the central bank lie about whether or not they were looking at a digital currency? If it was such a great thing, if it was something so spectacular, then why did they lie about working on it? Remember Ben Bernanke and Janet Yellen did not, oh no, we're not doing it. No. And then somebody caught them. I forget who it was, broke how they were having private meetings with these tech companies and MIT. And of course, now we already have FedNow. It's already working, and that's the wholesale side of things. If it was such a great thing, Jason, why would they lie about it? And the answer really is simple, because if you actually know the truth, and I'm not talking about the spin that they're going to put on it, because I told you, right, they're going to create, it's the magic elixir. It's going to make inflation go away. Now, people haven't lost their jobs yet. It's coming real fast. It's going to put you back to work. It's going to allow you to be middle class again. That's what they're going to tell you. And we're going to beg for it. Problem is what they don't tell you. With all the things that they can do. And I told you, public enemy number one is people with money in the bank. Those are the ones that are going to pay for it. Believe me, this is a bail-in scenario, not a bailout scenario. You are going to pay to refinance those banks. It's plain and simple. And then you're going to keep paying. You don't want to spend your money? Right? Well, we have a new way of doing it now. We don't have to bring rates to zero anymore. We'll just make your bank account rate, your Fed account, that'll be negative, right? That'll get you to spend. See, we won't have to do what those were old tools, right, Jason? Those were archaic, barbaric tools. Now we can just go ahead and take your hard-earned money without having to worry about hurting our banks.
Yeah, you can do what, and I didn't get the full story on this. I was pressed for time to get on the air, but I could do what Citibank, I think, is doing now. They're going to take deposits and turn them into digital tokens. I heard they're already started on that. Because I don't know, but your funny money going to them isn't good enough. They're going to take it and put it into a funnier money, which is digital tokens. Because I don't know. I guess maybe they feel like they'll get a better return, Joe. I don't know. It's when I heard that, I'm going to look more into it. But are these banks going to just turn it into the digital currency by simply just one-on-one trading it out, and when you have no say over it? And they'll just say, well, pretty soon we just won't, just like taking cash out. Maybe they do that in 2 years, but maybe shortly after that they just they all have switched to that new digital currency in that fashion, Joe. In the 2 years when they get rid of it, it's we'll just trade it out, and it'll switch over just fine. And no choice at all, Joe. No choice at all. People say, well, we don't have to do that. We could figure something else out. I don't know if we have any choice. If you go to a bank for anything, you pretty much have to do what they require. That's how imposing the system is. And this is why you get stuff on the side like gold and silver, which is completely outside their control. Digitally, Joe, we have no control.
No control whatsoever. And we're seeing it. More and more people, I think, wake up daily. And it's little things when you see, because let's face it, some people, hey, this is my daily routine, and I don't do a whole lot more than that, and I'm not really paying attention. Then they go to one of the self-checkouts at the nothing's more frustrating than these self-checkouts. And you get there, and, only these couple take cash. All the rest, you got to use your card. Or, wait, you can't use the self-checkout here. If you need to pay cash, you got to wait in that long line for that one employee that's ringing out groceries. And you see these things. There's no choice there. Well, I'm not shopping here anymore. Then you go to the next store. Guess what? They're doing the exact same thing. And every other store, of course, they're all owned by the same company. I mean, look at it now. Really, grocery shopping-wise, for the vast majority of people, you've got Walmart and Kroger. Those are pretty much your two options. That's it, right? Because they own so much of the market. But it's getting to the point now where, there is no choice. You don't want to comply, that's okay. We don't care. Banks are more than happy to kick people out right now. Believe me, anybody, you don't want to do what we want, and you don't want to run your business how we want you to run it, right? You can just leave. Here you go. Don't let the door hit you on the way out. This is why you got to have this gold and silver put away. And these $5, this is the deal of the week. Well, actually, it was probably that 40% because it was below spot. But $5 Liberty Gold. 1 through 9 at $575. 10 or more at $570 at 800-951-0592. And again, it's a weird day. Gold is rallying on a Fed meeting. All the talk that I've seen from all these places that I go to, they're only concerned with one thing. How many of these Fed governors are going to show on their little dot chart that they're ready to cut rates in 2024? That is their only concern. Patriot Radio News Hour, final segment coming up. (800-951-0592). Joe and Jason wrapping up this Wednesday. Obviously, we'll get the Fed announcement here in a few hours, but it's not about a rate hike. They're gonna take this meeting off. My guess is they'll set the table for another rate hike at the next Fed meeting, which is going to be either the end of October, beginning of November, the November meeting. And then everybody's going to watch for when are some of these Fed governors going to indicate that they're going to be lowering rates, which sounds idiotic. We got inflation picking up steam, and yet they need to have rates lower. I wish people would understand. This tells you how perilous it really is. And this is always what happens at the top of these bubbles. Always. And then they're so shocked when they didn't see it coming, when they couldn't figure it out. I mean, I remember Eric and I were talking about housing, the housing bubble here in Arizona. We're like, there's desert for hundreds of miles, and people are lining up. Give me a break, right? This is the same situation here. This miracle landing does not exist. It doesn't exist. It's not going to happen. All these strikes, all these huge payouts that these companies are enacting leads to one thing. Prices that are significantly higher and a lot less jobs. That's what happened. Think about it. That's the last thing you want. Because normally it's like, wait a minute, prices go down when there's no jobs. Not when you agree to these huge wage deals. Not when you sit there, Kaiser, hey, listen, we already pay minimum wage of $21 an hour. That's not good enough. That's not good enough. What do you mean I got to pay $20 if I'm in if I own a McDonald's franchise in California? Yeah, that's the least amount you can pay, by the way. Right, Jason? It's not good enough. And this is what's happening here, and it's really obvious to see, with the exception of the cheerleading channels that tell you how great the central bank is.
That's right, Joe. And if you look at things on a basic level, it's pretty obvious. I mean, we've had inflation in this country since the central bank put itself in power. And why do we send all of our jobs to China in the 70s and 80s? Well, because their labor was cheaper. We were inflated. And, just for people to understand, China's labor is not as cheap as it used to be. And pretty soon it won't be cheap at all. And they're going to have to start building this stuff and providing this stuff from somewhere else when China gets to be far too expensive. So if it costs 2 pennies to produce something from China and now it costs 50 cents, all that inflation comes over here. So this is not even just a local, national problem, Joe. It's a worldwide economic problem. And it's going to get worse and worse before it gets better, and that's if it gets better, Joe. This is why smart people have to figure out how money works so you can make good decisions. And when it comes to saving, the smartest place ever is gold. Silver is a close second, and it's a great place you can hold your savings, because if you don't know where to put your money, Joe, you've got to save it until you know where to put it. Don't have it in cash, and don't have it in the bank, Joe.
800-951-0592. Jason and I, we're coming right back with the half-empty cup.